Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sean, sometimes known as the Beast, and this is going to be something a little bit different. I thought I'd do a ranking video of 5 of the Godfathers of death metal, some of the founding lights, as it were. By no way is it a definitive list, and it's not this was the very first death metal album, this was a second death metal. It's nothing like that. It's just 5 bands that I really enjoy, and their debut albums. They've all got loads and loads of people that's done far better reviews than I could ever do. Chances are, if you've got any interest in metal at all, you'll have heard of these bands, even if you haven't necessarily heard the album I'm going to show. So like I say, these ranking videos are just a little bit of fun. This is my take on these 5 debuts. People's opinions will be different to mine, obviously. That's what makes music so diverse and fun. So get cracked on, and hopefully a little bit different and something that you might enjoy. So first up, and number 5 on my list, is the Mighty Obituary and Slowly We Rot. This came out in 1989. Now, just to say, these are all reissues. I would love to have OG copies of them, but you know, pennies and stuff. Yeah, so right, back to this. So this is undoubtedly like a milestone album in extreme metal. The ferocity, the power, the riffs, they're all second to none. When Tardy opens his mouth on the first track, the Internal Bleeding, that first sort of demonic sounding scream, you sort of know, yeah, there's something a bit special about this. It oozes savagery, you know, that type of savagery that is associated with death metal. On the bits when it does actually slow down, it seems to get even heavier. So this is the reissue, so the gents on that side, and a little sort of like a personal story by Phil Alexander on that side. Yeah, this for me is just an absolute monster of an album. Coloured vinyl, which, you know, one of those things. Which is another reason I'd like to get an OG copy. But yeah, I don't have the emotional connection with a lot of these albums like a lot of the older subscribers will do, because like I said, for years and years and years, if it wasn't thrash metal, I wasn't interested, with the occasional bit of new wave of British heavy metal thrown in. So bands like Obituary, and well, all these bands that I'm going to mention, sort of, I sort of poo-pooed them and like pushed them to a side, which is obviously now I understand how silly that was. But so yeah, I would assume if I'd have listened to these in the years that they came out, late 80s, early 90s, I would have probably been a lot more critical of people like me saying, "No, can you put that number 5?" But, you know, it's just a list, just something different. So yeah, so number 5 is the Mighty Obituary and Slowly We Rot. Number 4 was released in 1990, and it is the Incredible Entombed and their debut. They're all debuts, obviously. Left Hand Path. First of all, the Dan Seagrave artwork on the front of this is just absolutely phenomenal. That would make an absolutely awesome tattoo, and it is something that's been sort of like floating around in the back of the old grey matter that potentially could be could be a future inking. This has that crunch that sort of like epitomises the old school death metal sound. It's impossible to listen to this and sit still. If you can listen to this and sit still, then you've got far better willpower than me, because it's a head banging, toe tapping, you know, air drumming type, just everything about it. Now, of course, one of the massive selling points for this album is the incredible LG Petrov, rest in peace. His vocals, for me, are one of the best death metal vocalists that's ever put anything on wax. Absolutely incredible sound. There's a lot of bands that have obviously been inspired by Entombed, a lot of Entombed clones, as it were, and I was going to say it's not my favourite Entombed album. I was going to tell you which one it is, but it's not my favourite Entombed album. This is only on Black Wax. However, I'll save that for another day. Might do a ranking of the other albums. But yeah, absolutely, start to finish, essential record to have in your death metal collection. To be fair, all 5 of these are. But yeah, so my number 4 is Entombed and Left Hand Path. Now, these top 3 could probably change every time I did a ranking video, just dependent upon the mood I was in. But for this video, we'll go with this as my number 3. This is, well, it's Autopsy. It's Severed Survival from 1989. The standout thing for this album, for me, is the production. It's like heavy and loose sounding, savagery, almost that punk sort of DIY ethic at times. Steve DiGiorgio, who played bass on this, they've just given him, they must have just said to him, tell you what, you do whatever you want and we'll fill in around it. Chuck on top of that the incredible Chris Reifert. That the vocals from that man are just absolutely otherworldly, demonic, frightening, harsh. Just everything about his voice is, it's probably one of those voices that people will either really like it, like I do, or they'll say, no, it's not for me, it's too screechy, and you know, obviously, I think we said before, each to their own, but for me it's absolutely superb. I am a bit of a Autopsy freak, to be fair. Yeah, it's, again, if I was to do this video tomorrow, then this could easily be the number 1 choice on here, because it's just one of those albums that it gets played constantly. And again, it's not actually my favourite Autopsy album. It's very high on the list, but it's you know, it's not my favourite. But yeah, so that's Autopsy and Severed Survival. This next one is, well, it's just savage. This is Dismember and they're Like an Ever-Flowing Stream from 1991. This is actually out of the Dismember box set. It's not a standalone version or variant. Again, I'd love to get this on OG press, but it's highly unlikely. This to me is, the guitar sound on this is that buzzsaw that you associate with old school death metal. Machikaki on this, he sounds like there's something wrong with him. He sounds possessed, he sounds demonic, he sounds just frighteningly savage, and like there's like a frenetic energy, and it sort of, it just fits perfectly with the rest of the album. Obviously Dismember more on the harsher side than some of the other bands mentioned. Obviously it's got that almost thrash metal sound, which is possibly why I rate it as high as I do, being a thrash head. Like I say, it's out of the box set, so it's a horrible blue vinyl. But yeah, for me, I've seen people sort of brush this aside and say, nah, it's, you know, it's not that good. I read a review where one of the lads was saying he enjoyed the album, but a few of the songs felt like they were like rushed and almost put together at last minute. Yeah, I can sort of see that, but if you can listen to the first track, Override of the Overture, and not be, what's the word, sort of captivated by it and, whoa, I wonder what else they're going to do next, then, you know, it's probably not for you. But for me, I just think this is an absolutely wonderful record. And again, on a different day, this could quite easily have been #1 out of these 5. So that is the Mighty Dismember and Like an Ever-Flowing Stream. Now, the reason I've picked this next album as my #1 out of these 5 is I do have a little bit more of a connection with the band, purely because I listened to quite a bit of their stuff years ago when I was still mostly into thrash, and I was like, yeah, I don't mind it, but no, it's not thrash. I'm not going to stick with him. However, having come to my senses, you might say, just an incredible band. They're my favourite death metal band, to be fair. This is the superb Grave and Into the Grave from 1991. That opening salvo on Deformed, for me, is one of the, it's definitely one of my favourite starts to any death metal album. There's just, it just absolutely grips you straight away. That buzzsaw rumble, the drum sound, the vocals, everything about it just grabbed me, and I was like, yeah. Now I've opened my ears to other death metal. These boys take some beating. Again, it's not an OG. I wish it was. I wish they all were. But so we get the lyrics on that side and some rather cool looking band photos on this side. This for me is, it's pretty much a flawless album. The aggression, the speed, the energy, the riffs, the violence, the just overall like the thickness of the production, the heaviness of the production. It's, yeah, I say it's pretty much a 10 out of 10 record for me. And again, I know that's not everybody's, won't be everybody's thoughts on it, but it's mine. So yeah, I can't remember how many times I've played this album. And is it my favourite Grave album? Maybe not, but yeah, that might be, like I said, it might be a video for another day. So yeah, my #1 in this little 5 album ranking is Grave and their debut, Into the Grave. So that's it for this one. It's just something I thought might be a little bit different rather than just, you know, what's been spinning type thing. I've recently passed 600 subscribers, which is absolutely ridiculous and thoroughly not deserved, but thank you very much to everybody that has stuck around and given me shout outs over the, was it 18, about 20 months I think I've been actually making videos. So we're not doing bad really, are we, in that respect. I will do a 600 subscribers giveaway type competition. It'll probably just be a PayPal payment, because, you know, I'd rather the money go to somebody that can use it rather than me having to fork out. If somebody from across the water wins it, you know, it's £60 postage and then the record I send is worth 30 quid. It seems a little bit unfair. So we'll I'll come up with some type of a giveaway, and I believe that this video is the 99th one uploaded to my channel. So 600 giveaway competition and the 100th video seems to have a bit of what's that word? Synchronicity? Is that the word? I think it is. But yeah. So like I say, the next one will be the 600 subs giveaway, and then we'll come up with some other nonsense to show you in a future video. So that's it for this one. Thank you very much to all the subscribers. Pop down in the comments and perhaps tell me how you would rank these 5 albums, these 5 bands. Like I say, it's just a little bit of fun, something a little bit different. Look after one another, enjoy whatever music you're listening to, enjoy whatever genre of music you're listening to, and as always, until next time, cheers!